Hey, what's up there, everybody? It's Carpo again. And today I'd like to talk about artificial intelligence and the future of work. And I'm going to try to touch on this relatively briefly because I could probably go on forever about it, but really a couple issues in particular. And, artificial intelligence, AI, is the biggest deal, the biggest thing that we are going to have to reckon with in the next 15, 20 years. Once artificial intelligence reaches the singularity or the point where it's smarter than we are and can think for itself, of course, we have a thousand scare stories about it. Everyone thinks of Skynet, Terminator. But in reality, artificial intelligence can pose a large threat for humanity, or it could solve many of our problems. Now, I want you to think back for a moment. Within 100 years ago, you know, less than 100 years ago, we were creating a proliferation of nuclear weapons after we had already tested them and knew exactly what they could do. The thought in people's minds, in civilized people's minds, was that the more weapons we have, the more of a deterrent that will be, and we're better off. Now, regardless of the strategy and the reasoning behind that, there was an overlooked aspect, which was that these warheads will eventually rust, and these computers and launch pads will eventually be out of date. And of course, today many of them are. Many of the launch pads still run on floppy disks, and they don't even know if these weapons would work. Now, we've decommissioned thousands of nukes, of course. And there are still some countries that are actually, still building nukes because they believe having a few at least will be a deterrent. And in their case, that's probably true. But when you have hundreds of them and you want to make thousands more, at what point does it become absurd? And I'm using that to compare to computers and artificial intelligence. We are building things in this society, advanced technologies, so quickly that we don't know where we're going to be in 10 years or if we're even going to have jobs for people. And a lot of people are scared with trucking being taken over by AI, with driving being taken over by AI. A lot of folks are scared in the industry, but it's already happened. It's already been automated in the large factories, the workplaces. Amazon now takes over half of all online sales. These consolidated companies, the larger they get, of course, the more profit they can make, and the more that they can mechanize and have technological advancements within their own company. I think that why this is a big problem among many is, I should say, why this has become so, why we feel so disconnected is because of our disconnect from the land. It's a very simple concept. When we worked the land and grew our own food, we understood what it meant to eat an animal, to eat a plant, the work that went into creating that food. We were less likely to waste it, more likely to respect it. The disconnect from the land also came with the disconnect of culture and a loss of language. And I think that this is a major component of why we can't bond in our communities with, say, making sure that everyone's taken care of. It seems that, in other words, the AI that we're developing is generally going to advance billionaires to become multi-billionaires. It's going to advance those who have the money to spend to program these computers. They are going to reap the rewards and the benefits, and the average consumer is probably going to lose their wage. And unfortunately, we never stop to think what we want, just like with nukes. What do we want all of this for? I have a big question, because the wage is the same right now. Adjusted for inflation, the average wage is the same as in the 60s. Meanwhile, we've made all these advancements which have come at the cost of our parents, our grandparents, their grandparents, people who died in factories and died doing labor to try to build these better communities, who invented things, spent their whole lives writing out equations. And it led to where we're at today. Robots and artificial intelligence. The question is this: who owns it? Whoever can buy out the patents and own this intellectual property can be the owner of AI. Well, there's a problem there, because these people, even though they might put millions into developing, we've already put billions into developing many different companies, smaller inventors, people who weren't recognized. Everything was built on the blood, sweat, and tears of our ancestors. And it seems that we continually forget that. It's the same reason I'm frustrated why drug companies, for example, can raise the price of a drug 5 times that was patented and the patent expired back in the 60s. There's no reason for research and development. There's no reason for marketing. The drug is well known. They just raise the price because they can. And this is where AI gets scary, because it's going to nickel and dime us to death. It's going to figure out every single way to get every consumer's, down to their last. And it's already happening. It's not something from the future. This is what's happened with Facebook. If you still have a Facebook account, then you're basically willingly giving up everything you do. If you use Facebook on your phone, then every single website you go to, every text you send, perhaps all of your emails and texts and video messages and everything else are tracked and sent through Facebook, or at least sent to a larger server. Everything you send is saved, but you willingly give it to Facebook, and then they can sell your thing. It's one thing for the government to spy on everyone. It's quite another for a company to be selling your information to other people, and they're using AI to determine what you want to eat, or what you would like to buy, or where you want to go on vacation. And a lot of folks may see that as a benefit, and so be it. If that's your choice, if that's your reality. For me, I find it overly invasive, because it's not something that can just selectively target certain people. It's something that's everyone or no one. And it's my belief that we should not be, AI should not be used against the people. And this is where it's coming out of. It's breeding out of this realm of marketing, and that's where it starts. And saving companies money by eliminating drivers. They claim it's for safety. Sure, maybe so, but it obviously saves a lot of money as well. A 24-hour driver that doesn't take breaks. I'd like to just say a couple final notes, because many of you might know of Deep Blue. Deep Blue, back in, I think it was the 80s, or maybe early 90s, Deep Blue was a computer program which beat the world chess champion. Now, I read all about the interviews, and the guy was actually pretty pissed. He walked off. He was upset. He really didn't think he was going to lose. And I'll tell you, a lot of these a lot of game champions are really arrogant pricks. But I don't know his situation, but I assume he thought he was going to beat a computer. He lost, and in the end, he wanted a rematch, never got it. But it didn't matter, because Google got the information that they needed. 20 years later, recently, I think Deep Blue was the original one, but it's something blue now, but it beat the world Go champion. And actually, no one thought that it was possible either, because Go is the oldest game that we know of. It has millions of combinations, and it takes a certain eye, so they thought. All you do is program into it a bunch of games, and it wins. Did you know that these same AI that they're using for these programs are also betting on stocks for the stock market, for the people who have extra money to spend? And we're talking a couple pennies here and a couple pennies there profit over millions of stocks. If a program can point these out and people don't even have to look anymore, Wall Street's not full of people anymore, it's full of computers. And so now we have games that can beat humans that are all of our own games, and basically can outmaneuver us and I'm not talking about thinking consciously in the same way we do, but that's even scarier. Because if a computer is wiser than us and it's not consciously aware and it has no values, no judgments, we might be in for a lot of trouble. And I don't know what else to say about it, except for the last thing I'd like to mention is that for all the chaos we've created in this world through the Industrial Revolution, how we found oil and Standard Oil consolidated, and we polluted our waterways and our rivers with plastics, and we're burning, fossil fuels. That's also what's driven us to be able to make it to this point to where you and I can sit here in front of cameras and have all these leisurely activities, right? Doesn't mean it's right. What it means is that we, as people, didn't do this on purpose. In fact, most companies, even the huge corporations that are ruthless, didn't set out to say, hey, let's destroy the environment. The destruction is a byproduct of greed, and then it's justified within the person's mind. You have to realize everyone thinks differently. And this is why we've got to the point where we are now, where we're all starting to recognize what we've done. And perhaps if there was more effort put into artificial intelligence that could repair and remedy the situations we're in, or quantum computers that could process algorithms which could help the environment instead of helping companies and CEOs and trying to determine profits for the next quarter. And unfortunately, those who have the money to use these tools are the ones who already have money and have no real big interest in helping the world that we live in. And it's really unfortunate. I guess all I'm just saying is what can we do about it? You know, if we put as much effort into trying to improve our world as we do trying to destroy it and make more profits, that's kind of one of those, I don't know, it kind of puts me at a loss for words when I say something that ridiculous, because it just sounds like people are just, it's just, oh yeah, some hippie utopian shit. But why is it so impossible to think that we could actually use these things for good? So that's all I've got for now. There were a couple other things I wanted to mention about, but I can't recall exactly what they were. So I'll leave it for another video. Thanks for listening. Let me know what you think about it. I mean, humans have this natural tendency to create. We want to build. We have this idea that progress is what's important, and I get that. But when we can look back in retrospect and see what we're becoming, I would think that we would learn from our mistakes and utilize some of these tools for the good of humanity. I can't imagine what we could do with an aware quantum computer that's on our side, but that remains to be seen. We'll find out soon enough. Take care, everybody.